Game Informer is back, and initially when I first heard this news, I was like, all right, that's kind of weird. I mean, print media is kind of going the way of the dodo, and most people are getting their information from online sources or YouTube or Reddit or X or all these other social media areas these days. But sure, maybe there'll be a place for people that really have that nostalgic feeling to get into their retro gaming and want that magazine back. And then I started doing more research on why they're back, and it got pretty weird pretty quick. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Yeah, I covered this situation in a previous live stream, but after seeing friend of the channel Hypnotic covering it in even more detail, finding out about Game Informer's acquisition to Ukraine, I had to dig a little bit deeper because, oh, the tangled webs we weave when money laundering enters the picture. JT. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how Game Informer was purchased by a game company that's never put out a game. Yeah. Game Informer, the once legendary gaming magazine spanning 3 decades of publication, has been floundering for years leading up to the ultimate collapse of traditional media. Until finally, last year in 2024, at the time parent company GameStop just all of a sudden abruptly shut them down. Their website was gone, nothing archived, and everyone who worked there was out of a job without any kind of advance notice. And honestly, when it happened, I covered it and I was like, man, that's kind of crappy of GameStop, but I guess it is what it is. This is the time we live in, and print media is just not something people pay for anymore. Or at least that's what I thought at the time. So when the news broke that it was being acquired and revived, many people, including myself, were confused until we looked exactly who was behind it, which is a company called Gunzilla Games. It's a relatively new development studio that was founded in 2020 that has a very suspicious funding history. Like, sure, gaming studios pop up all the time, and it is what it is. You get investors from different places, and studio heads and employees from different companies coming together trying to make their games. Sure, but this one is just a little bit weirder. Despite being unproven in terms of any kind of successful game launches, read 0 games ever launched from this company, they are somehow operating across 3 high-cost cities. We got Frankfurt, London, and Kyiv, which is in Ukraine, employing a high-profile creative team, including Hollywood director Neil Blomkamp, and then suddenly developing a AAA game called Off the Grid, with ambitions apparently rivaling Cyberpunk 2077. And when I dove into Off the Grid, it ended up being something that wanted to implement NFTs. And that was suspicious enough in its own right. And we all know how most gamers feel about NFTs in their games and blockchains being a part of it. But that was just scratching the surface. Now they've acquired Game Informer, a once major media outlet at one time. And for a company without ever having a single major release, it's not just ambitious, it's downright suspicious. And why would an outlet with ties to Ukraine care about any kind of access to media in the United States? And that got me diving deeper into this, and what I found out was kind of wild. So who's funding Gunzilla? Well, this is where it gets interesting. Gunzilla has received investment from multiple sources that raise some serious red flags. We got Republic Capital, a New York-based venture capital firm that invests in blockchain projects and Web3 infrastructure. And sure, that's not too bad on the surface because, of course, there's going to be some of those things happening throughout the world. And yeah, you can kind of look at that and raise an eyebrow, but not think much of it beyond that. Until you keep going and see Griffin Gaming Partners, a major gaming venture capitalist firm that invested directly in Gunzilla. Griffin has connections to defense tech through other investments such as Editorial Industries. And then you dive into Immutable and Avalanche partnerships, where Gunzilla's Guns platform is confirmed to be built on the Avalanche blockchain. And sure, these are all weird enough when you start combining them, but this is the craziest one. Ukraine Tech Incentives. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Digital Transformation, tech companies operating out of Kyiv, including gaming firms, are eligible for grants, tax breaks, and direct funding through the DIIA City program. Gunzilla is headquartered in Kyiv for its back-end operations. And guess what country has been funneling billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine over the past few years? Yeah, we already know. With its Kyiv studio serving as a hub for the back-end programming and operational work, this raises some serious questions. Are Ukrainian state funds being used directly or indirectly to gain influence over Western gaming media? And let's be real here, because it's a direct connection between headquartering in Kyiv and then having some excess money being granted to you from the government potentially to purchase programs and platforms and media outlets that might have been defunct to try to resurrect them because, sure, you got money to blow.
If you unfollowed us on all our platforms like YouTube or Blue Sky or Instagram, I don't blame you. We disappeared.
And as Hypnotic noticed as well, they failed to mention Twitter/X when they're talking about social media accounts that people may have unsubscribed from, which is strange and provides a little bit of insight to the types of employees that are going to be working at Game Informer. And then you look at these employees saying that every single person that was working there has been rehired back on. And the obvious question with that is, wait, so everyone that was working there that got laid off was just available to come back? Nobody found another job or career or anything in the past year? They're just waiting for Game Informer to come back? Or was there an offer they couldn't refuse and paycheck that they had to come back to because this company, Gunzilla, just has infinite funds and it's just a little bit weird that this is all coming together right now? Again, there's just a lot of questions and some very suspicious endings you get to when you follow the branches as far as you can go. The print industry is on life support, and most, if not over 99% of gamers, get their news from YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit or other kind of online sources. So why would a new game studio with literally zero proven track record want to own a legacy outlet like Game Informer? And when you start diving into the reasons why they would do it, it starts to make a lot more sense. First off, narrative control. It gives them access to trusted platforms to shape coverage, not just for their own games, but for the industry at large. And then you go to the soft power influence, where Gunzilla can now directly influence what gets covered, what gets ignored, and how stories are framed, particularly stories involving Ukraine, Eastern Europe, or political narratives. Sound crazy? Got your tinfoil hat on? Because just you wait, it gets even worse. Reputation laundering. By reputation laundering, I mean they are owning a respected name like Game Informer, or at least once respected. Gunzilla can now boost its legitimacy and hide potential financial or political agendas under the guise of gaming journalism. And when you start putting this all together, it makes so much sense that you gotta raise a few eyebrows and say, I understand you're giving us all this lip service to make it sound like you guys are operating wholly independent from Gunzilla Games and they have no influence whatsoever, because holy crap, no way they would ever impact any of the editorial process, because that would just be so unethical. Why would they buy you?
The short version is that Gunzilla Games purchased Game Informer. Game Informer now operates under an independent entity called Game Informer Inc.
Editorial independence has been foundational for Game Informer ever since it was started back in the 90s, and it will continue to be a sacred element of our operation going forward.
All of Game Informer's editorial content is 100% selected by our editorial team without any outside influence, including from the new owners. In fact, that editorial integrity is something the new owners insisted upon as strongly as we did.
Think about that for a second, because maybe they're telling you this, giving you lip service for the first few months, and everyone gets comfortable and it starts going smoothly. Give it time. There's an agenda. And in my humble opinion, they are lying to you. It's not just that this happened, it's when it happened. Gunzilla's acquisition comes at a time when billions in Western aid have been flowing into Ukraine, often with extremely little oversight, and global media has been cracking down on dissenting and alternative viewpoints. The gaming industry is being used more and more as a cultural battleground, and trust me on this one, I know it better than most people how you will get attacked for daring to toe the line and challenge any kind of oppositional stance. Put this all together, and you gotta ask the elephant in the room question: is this about saving a gaming magazine, or is it using it as a Trojan horse? It's really not that crazy when you think about it. Gunzilla's meteoric rise, untraceable funding paths, and sudden purchase of Game Informer should be setting off alarms everywhere. What might look like a gaming investment on the surface may in reality be something far deeper and far more sinister. Game Informer isn't being resurrected, it's being repurposed. Sure, the Game Informer staff is claiming that they're operating completely independently of their parent company and definitely won't be taking any kind of influence or directive from Gunzilla, but give it a few months and we'll see exactly what happens. I just wanted to let you guys know because I got a feeling this is going to go south very quickly. I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article. I will link it in the description. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
I myself have had the good fortune to work with dozens of talented individuals who've come through over the 20 years I've been with the company and see the way that they have shaped and defined what Game Informer is all about.
Smash J, smash J.